Is there a need to reposition, reimagine management education from an employers and skills point of view? Prabir Jha, that question is for you.
I think it's a very important question. The simple answer is yes. I think I have always been a strong votary of management education, if for nothing else, because for the wholesomeness of that exposure. You're actually exposed, irrespective of your specialization, to being able to understand business in its different manifestations, and they intersect. And I think, as Saurabh also mentioned, that is going to be an evergreen reality. I still believe there's a strong value of that. But with a lot of changes, and I know that there'll be people who talk also a lot more on the generative AI and the AI-enabled thing. Business schools need to change and transform, including their own curriculum, their pedagogy. I very strongly again concur that a lot of routine, so-called gyan need not be wasted in the classroom time that we have. Adult learning of today must be more facilitated discussions and conversations. Everything else is available, between AI. Actually, you can have case studies being answered, by different AI solutions. So, if it's all about just getting a degree, I'll be honest, business schools, 2 years, everyone will get a degree. But I think true education will be really about elevating and leveraging AI. And I know that there are schools which are already leveraging a lot of AI, whether it's in marketing, in supply chain, in operations. I honestly think every possible elective, every possible discipline will be touched by AI. But I want to just leave as an opening thought an aspect beyond AI. At the end of the day, how do business schools actually want to position themselves? Is it about immediate placement for their batches, right? And that is the obsession with most business schools. I think I respect that, but I don't necessarily admire it. I think business schools as nurseries for leadership.
Jaideep, you agree with what Pradeep is saying, particularly the point of leadership, because regardless of AI, regardless of machine learning, leadership is needed and will forever be needed, perhaps. Jaideep.
I completely agree with Prabir. I mean, we are going through a transformational shift. When we talk about leadership changes, AI, generative AI is going to touch upon leaders as well. I would doubt that there is any leader who doesn't have generative AI at their fingertips. I mean, whether it's the ChatGPT app or it's the browser version, they are constantly touching upon it. And most leaders have either initiated pilots or fully embraced generative AI in their organizations. I mean, there may be some laggards who are still thinking about what to do with it, but it's here to stay. It's mainstream. I've also, in personal conversations with a lot of CXOs, found that they now can have an engaging conversation with tools like ChatGPT as if it's their executive assistant. I mean, ChatGPT has come of the age where it can mimic a tier 1 MBA graduate. It has a mind of its own. I mean, about a year and a half when it came out, it was a graduate. Now it's got the mind of an MBA grad from a tier 1 school. You can have a meaningful conversation about data, about plans, and so on. Of course, organizations are careful about what to share with that. So this is very well ingrained. What is more important is for leaders how they use the response to create engagement with their teams, arrive at decisions. I mean, it can be an input tool, but it cannot be a decision tool as yet. There will be algorithms in the future that will help with efficient decision making rather than go through number crunching and the CXO trying to make head or sense of the charts and so on. You can get a lot of narrative through that. The other aspect is how does the leader enable the organization to preempt what the leader is going to ask in terms of next. So, for example, if the tier 2 of the organization understand that the leader is going to lean on generative AI, then they can actually prepare for the meetings well, prepare for the Q&A well, get the board meetings more efficient. And the other final aspect is how is the incoming talent between the leadership of the organization and the B schools being bridged through Gen AI? Is the incoming talent going to be Gen AI ready? That's the big question.
Okay. Bhavishya, more questions that Jaideep has added. So I'm going to tease this off to you. Are Indian companies adapting to this new era in your experience? and with what you know from a executive search point of view, are Indian companies adapting?
To answer your question, I don't think it's a matter of India. I think it's globally. The adaptation to Gen AI is no longer a choice. I think everyone understands the urgency of it. It's another question whether everyone understands how to leverage this. I think this is still very initial stages where organizations are getting their head around in terms of how to leverage Gen AI. But just to kind of link it back to the whole topic of where B schools are, picking up something from Prabir, what Prabir said, the value of exposure in B schools. I'm sure if you would go and talk to alumni of B school of what is the biggest value that they had from the school, exposure, alumni network probably would be the first few things. Curriculum, I doubt would come in the top 5.
Do you think business school curricula in India has adapted? Are you seeing signs of that, or are you doubtful that it's going to fully adapt in an era where placements and salaries are far more important headline grabbing items?
I think fundamentally, at least I feel the AI wave is a little overblown. As an investor, the kind of output and startups I'm seeing don't tend to match what people are actually saying. So I think there is some distance before we get there. At least how I try to look at it is you are either above the algorithm or below the algorithm, which
That's
means
a good
that
one.
if you're being controlled by the algorithm, you're going to have an issue. If you are building the algorithm, you're going to have a good exposure and experience. I think B schools have been there longer than a lot of these technologies, and we don't give them enough credit for being innovative. I think that universities and business schools know how to adapt. While they may be slow, the way they respond generally tends to be more long term. And as many people on this panel have already alluded to, I think the curriculum is one of the things that matters. At least for me, it was the people I studied with and the people who taught me.